OTAs have officially begun for the Philadelphia Eagles, and there's already been some surprising news coming out of it, and that includes Cooper DeJean potentially playing multiple different positions, while one of the Birds' positional battles might turn out to be a lot closer than expected. Plus, we also got a rather interesting and unexpected update on Nakobe Dean's knee injury, while a Bryce Huff trade looks more likely than ever. Plus, we got plenty more updates from practice, while the NFL also seems to be attacking the Eagles once again. So I'm going to talk about that and all the other latest news from OTAs starting right now. OTAs are always a really interesting time of the offseason, as sure, it's not as involved as training camp, as there's only a few open practice sessions, the guys aren't in pads, and there's no live contact, so there's really only so much that they can do, but still, OTAs are very important and can give us fans a lot of information about the state of the team in their early stages. And for Eagles fans, it's obviously no different, as we're going to get a ton of different reports, live updates from practice, videos, interviews, and stories coming out over these next few weeks with OTAs officially beginning. And while yesterday was the first day that the Birds were on the practice field, today's the first day where reporters were actually present and we got live updates from practice, so we got a lot of different things to talk about. But before we get into that, I do want to touch on a rather big report that just came out recently, revealing that NFL Commissioner Roger Goodell and the rest of the league are attempting to punish Philadelphia for their success once again. As after attempting, but for the moment failing, to ban the tush push during the owners' meetings this year, the league apparently is now preparing to launch another attack on the Birds, with Ari Meirov recently reporting, quote, NFL Commissioner Roger Goodell said owners had a lengthy discussion at the league meetings about the salary cap system, how well it's working, whether teams are operating within its intended spirit, and what changes might be needed in the next round of collective bargaining with the players' union. In short, owners are already looking ahead to potential changes to keep the system fair, competitive, and free of loopholes. Now, if you know anything about Howie Roseman and the Eagles tend to structure their contracts and handle the salary cap, then you know that this right here is another straight-up attack on the Birds. One of the main reasons the Eagles have been so successful in recent years is because of the genius and elite roster-building abilities of general manager Howie Roseman, both to acquire talent in a variety of different ways, and also to keep that talent on the roster for a long time. And one of the ways that he's been able to extend so many guys to big contracts like Jalen Hurts, A.J. Brown, or Jordan Mailata, for example, is by structuring contracts with a lot of void years added onto the end of them so as to lessen the cap hits early in the deal and then spread out the money past when the contract expires. And then, once a player gets into those more expensive years of the contract or towards the end of it, Howie and the Birds extend or restructure the deal and ultimately avoid any catastrophic financial penalty. And that genius strategy is one of the things that's allowed the Eagles to have some of the most talented rosters in the NFL over the past several seasons, but apparently now everybody has a problem with it, hence this report. What makes me so frustrated about this whole thing is that, one, this strategy is not a sure thing by any means, and we've seen it backfire before. Just see what happened with Carson Wentz. But on top of that, it's not like the Eagles are the only team that can do this. I mean, any team could do it. It's just that some are afraid to, and the Eagles are also just better at it than everybody else. Sounds familiar, right? Oh, and also, everybody only has a problem with it now that the Eagles won the Super Bowl and have been in contention with this elite roster for many years. So, personally, assuming that this is what the owners were talking about, I think that that's ridiculous, and it's just another example of the NFL trying to punish the Eagles for their success. But the good news is, even if they do change things with the salary cap, nothing can be done until after the 2030 season when the new CBA goes into place, meaning that the Eagles' current core of stars will remain intact and the Super Bowl window is wide open for years to come. Oh, and also, we still got Howie Roseman, and I'm sure he'll figure something out even if things do change. Moving on though, and getting back to OTAs, one of the biggest storylines heading into this first round of offseason practices was going to be the battle at the safety position between Sidney Brown and the rookie Andrew Mukuba. And heading into day one of open practices, a lot of Eagles fans and people in the media seem to be very high on Mukuba specifically, with The Athletic's Brooks Koepka even writing an article detailing how some of Mukuba's former coaches at Texas compared the Birds rookie to Cardinals star safety Budda Baker, noting that while both guys are undersized, they play bigger and more physical than you would imagine, with Mukuba's safety coach at Texas, Blake Gideon, even saying, quote, "He plays a lot like Budda. He throws his blank around. He's a coach's dream in that respect." Plus, Koepka also made sure to mention Mukuba's versatility, given that he can really do it all, whether that's playing zone or man coverage, blitzing, tackling, or communication. I mean, again, the guy can do it all, which is why I think going into this competition, Mukuba has a very real shot to win the starting job. That said, it's still going to be a very tough competition, and a video that the Eagles just released yesterday on day 1 of practices possibly further solidifies that. Now, the video in itself is fairly exciting, as after months of no Eagles football, it showcases a lot of the guys going through different drills, including Jalen Hurts repping a play-action rollout, Jalen Carter showing off the physicality on the sleds, Jordan Mailata doing a blocking drill with rookie Myles Hinton, Saquon catching a pass with contest from Quinyon Mitchell before Q then knocks the next one away, and then we saw the exciting Whites, Reed Blankenship, and Cooper DeJean doing a DB footwork drill, wide receiver Johnny Wilson running a route and catching a pass. We also saw the rookie Ty Robinson, aka the Vanilla Gorilla, getting physical on the sleds here, which, by the way, I'm starting to get really excited about this guy. And then we also got edge rushers Jalix Hunt and the new addition Azeez Ojulari doing a footwork drill, Saquon Barkley practicing some ball security, followed by Zach Bond doing a drill, and also Jake Elliott kicking a field goal to end off the video. So, it's really nothing crazy. I mean, these are just standard drills, but in the dead of the offseason, it at least gets me a little bit excited just to see the guys back out there on the field. And also, Anthony DeBona actually pointed out something interesting in this video, which goes back to what I said earlier about the safety battle. That being, quote, "I'm grasping at straws here, but it looked like Sidney Brown, number 21, was next in line during drills after Reed Blankenship at the 17-second mark." And while first off, yes, this is very much grasping at straws, he's also right, as if you freeze it here, it is in fact Sid next in line for this DB drill, which theoretically, that would suggest that, at least to start off OTAs, Sidney Brown is getting the majority of first-team reps at safety over Andrew Mukuba. Today, however, we didn't get an answer to that question, as Reed Blankenship was actually absent for the second practice of OTAs, along with guys like Devontae Smith, Lane Johnson, Landon Dickerson, Ben Van Sumeren, Avery Williams, and also one other guy who we're going to talk about a bit later. But with Reed's absence, that meant that both Sid and Mukuba got to start at safety during practice today, so that didn't exactly reveal very much about the current state of the Eagles' safety battle in its early stages. But what was interesting is that in the second round of 7-on-7s, Lewis Cine actually came in for some first-team reps over Sidney Brown, while Drew Mukuba remained in with the starter. So, could that hint that Cine has a chance to win a starting job? Could it hint that Mukuba has an early edge over Brown? I mean, I don't know. I would honestly expect Sid to have the early edge simply because he's the veteran who's been here for the longest, but again, this is going to be a great battle throughout the entire offseason with many possible outcomes. I still think mainly the battle is going to be between Sid and Mukuba, but, we'll see, and I'm excited to see how it all plays out. And the same goes for the rest of the positional battles. Speaking of which, we obviously got some more updates regarding those today, with Tyler Steen getting the start over Kenyon Green at right guard, which I think that's no surprise, but I can't say the same about the battle at cornerback, as despite the fact that Kelee Ringo broke down the defensive back huddle today, it was the veteran Adoree Jackson who actually started at outside cornerback for the majority of practice, while Cooper DeJean also moved outside in base sets. And considering that I thought Kelee Ringo was the clear favorite to start coming into OTAs, this was kind of a surprise to me. I mean, I never expected him to be handed the starting job simply because he hasn't done enough to earn it yet, but if I'm being honest, I didn't exactly expect a super tough competition between him and Jackson, but the fact that the vet was getting the majority of first-team reps today could signal that Ringo was really going to have to earn that starting job. Now, yes, it is only OTAs, and I still would probably consider him the favorite, but at the very least, Jackson getting first-team reps is a clear sign that the battle at the cornerback position could be a lot tougher than expected. Plus, it's also interesting that Cooper DeJean was the one getting the first-team reps on the outside in base sets, while also obviously getting the first-team reps at nickel when they were in those packages. And that's interesting because that obviously suggests that Coop may be asked to play both those positions during the season, which is no doubt a difficult challenge, but at the same time, it's one he seems ready to embrace.
Yeah, they're a little different. I did it a little bit in college, played both, but they're different. And on the inside, you got to prepare more to fit the run and be able to cover and do all those things. At corner, it's more worrying about covering a top guy, top receiver, with a lot of space. But I did a little bit in college, so I've been doing it a little bit, early on here in OTA. So, I think just doing wherever they need me to be, is what I'll do. Right now I've been trying outside and inside.
If DeJean is asked to play both positions during the season, it's definitely good that he at least has that experience of doing it before in college. But again, it is interesting just because I feel like if the Eagles do ask him to play on the outside during the season some, then that could signal that the Birds don't exactly feel great about the other outside cornerback position opposite Quinyon Mitchell, hence why they would want Coop to do it when he can. But I'm curious to know your guys' thoughts on that. And then switching over to the linebacker position, it was of course Zach Bond and then Jeremiah Trotter Jr. getting the start, as both Nakobe Dean and Jahad Campbell weren't practicing as expected. So nothing too crazy there, but we actually did kind of get an unexpected update on Dean today, as not only was he at the very least in uniform and in the facility the past 2 days, but Eagles creators Thomas Mott and Josh Davis actually apparently got to talk to Dean yesterday at the NovaCare complex, where he supposedly told them that while he's not ready for on-field work yet, he is trending in the right direction to be ready early in the regular season, possibly at the start of it. So that's also kind of a surprise given the severity of Nakobe's injury, but at the same time, it makes sense given all the promising reports that we've gotten about Dean's injury in recent days. And obviously, if Dean can be back, say, for the start of the regular season, then that's amazing, and it'll only give the Birds defense a big boost. Moving on though, today was also the first time we got to hear from Kevin Patullo since he was promoted to being the offensive coordinator, which is important because Patullo is possibly the biggest question mark for the Birds going into this season, as we really don't know exactly how the offense is going to look with yet another new face at the helm. But in his press conference today, Patullo did his best to give us some answers.
Well, I mean, as far as different, we go through the process at the end of each year of examining what we do well, what we need to improve upon, and then really any trends or anything we see that we can add to it. So I think really when you say different, I think it's going to be like, what do our players do best, like it's been? And then from there, we just expand upon it. Hey, we're really good at this. Let's bring this to the table and try this and see where we can take it. And I think really when you look at just our staff as a whole, we've added some new coaches, so they bring some other layers to it too, and then the knowledge of what they have from their background. So I think as we go forward, as we build this thing together as a staff, you'll see some new wrinkles here and there, but more so it's just kind of building on what our players do best.
Yeah, so there you go. I mean, it's definitely not a huge surprise because it sounds like a lot of the offense is going to be very similar with some new wrinkles added in, and it's overall just going to focus on emphasizing what the players do well, which is great considering that Patullo already has familiarity with all the guys. So, that definitely sounds promising and smart to me. Now, yes, there are still very legitimate questions and concerns about Patullo, but we're just really not going to be able to judge anything until we see what his scheme looks like and how he is as a play caller. So, I'm going to talk more about this in my next video and go over some of those concerns, but as of right now, I'm just not too concerned about Kevin Patullo as the offensive coordinator, and I'm going to do my best to give him a full chance, but I'm curious to know your guys' thoughts on it down in the comments below. Now, after the presser, we obviously got a bunch more news from practice, a lot of which I've already gone over, but one of the biggest storylines is no doubt the absence of Bryce Huff. And I say this because obviously there's been a lot of speculation that he could possibly be traded this offseason, specifically after June 1st, which is in just a few days, because that's when a trade would become a lot more financially digestible for the Birds. And in my last video, I had said whether Bryce Huff shows up for OTAs or not is going to be a big indicator of whether or not a trade could actually happen. So the fact that he wasn't there definitely isn't a great sign for his future in Philadelphia, and that's especially true after what Dallas Goedert said when discussing his offseason trade saga in a press conference today.
Yeah, there was a little bit of uncertainty going into the offseason. Talked with my agent, talked with Howie. Yeah, there was a time where, I wasn't here for the beginning OTAs. We were trying to figure out what was going to happen, and we came to the agreement of the contract I'm on.
The fact that Goedert said he wasn't at OTAs before he and the Eagles came to a contract resolution puts Huff's situation in a whole new perspective for me, because obviously Huff isn't at OTAs now, so I think that pretty much confirms that something is going on behind the scenes and a trade could be coming. But who knows, maybe I'm wrong and I'm just reading too much into it, but I'm curious to know your guys' thoughts down in the comments below. Do you think Bryce Huff could be traded in the coming days? Again, I'd love to hear your guys' thoughts on that. And also, I'm going to be continuing to cover everything Philadelphia Eagles related throughout all OTAs in this entire offseason. So if you don't want to miss any of that, then make sure you guys subscribe and you turn on notifications. And also drop a like down below on this video because it really does help me out a ton, so you can get to at least 500 likes on this video. And also, if you watch another Eagles video going over some of the storylines that I thought were ones to watch coming into OTAs, then go check this out right here. Now, with all that being said, that's pretty much all I got for this one, guys. So thank you all so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.